Okay, this is Kirk Woodruff, and this is my language culture contact presentation. So for the first hour, I listened to Spanish radio. I listened to it while driving to and from work. I typically have to drive 10 to 15 minutes each way, and so during those periods of time, I would listen to Spanish radio. And typically would listen to two different stations. The first being 100.3, which is a Spanish pop station. It has more, modern, or I would contemporary, or um, current Spanish music. And then the other one is 103.5, which would be considered more traditional Spanish music. I consider it to be like the country music of Spanish. It's known as La Banda music. And while listening to those two different stations, some of the things that I learned, I think, are more slang than anything. The first one is no manches, which is the same as saying like no way. Another one was dimensión, which is dimension. And another one is órale, which would be the same as saying like right on. Some of the nuances that I picked up on, kind of like I said before, the differences between the two channels. The 100.3 definitely has newer artists on there. For example, Enrique Iglesias, Mana, which is a big popular band in Mexico. People like Shakira. And then the traditional music is something that you would hear if you were on a bus in Mexico. It's the music that you hear with a big tuba and other instruments like the violin or cello, along those lines, and it's very distinguishable. Additionally, when it comes to artists, on many of them you can pick out their accents. For example, in Enrique Iglesias has a very distinct Spain or Spanish accent, where his R's sound like the, and so it's very distinguishable when you hear him sing. So those are some of the things that I picked up on while listening to Spanish radio. Now for the second hour, I'm a patient coordinator for the clinic that I work for. So I work for A.T. Still University, and specifically the dental school of A.T. Still. And for the dental school, I work for a clinic called DORA, which is the Dental Outreach for Rural Arizona. And I'm the patient coordinator for the clinic. And so I spend a lot of time on the phone talking to patients, making appointments, scheduling, getting people directions, and organizing the clinic from that standpoint. Now, about half of our patient base are Spanish speakers, and so a lot of the times when I'm on the phone, I'm speaking with somebody that speaks Spanish. And so I'm talking about when their next appointment is, getting them directions on how to get there, and then also answering their questions in regards to what they're going to be expecting procedure-wise, also payment information, any questions they may have about that. One of the terms that I learned recently was fíjate, which is the same as, saying check it out, or, pay attention to this, or look at that, or, look at this. And so that was kind of one of the things that I learned. Some of the nuances of the culture that I picked up on, it seems like, from my experience, talking to patients over the phone, it seems like a lot of families, live together. And what I mean by that is, here in the US, it's, typical that somebody in their early 20s, moves out of their parents' house and kind of starts living on their own, and then maybe eventually gets married and buys a house and kind of does their own thing. From my experience, it seems like a lot of families continue to live at home. So, a son that, maybe in his mid-20s and is married, is still living with his parents and has kids himself. And, isn't true for every case, but I've noticed that it has been a little bit of a trend. And so I think it's more of a cultural thing that, goes on, that families continue to live as, a unit under one roof. So that's kind of one of the things that I noticed doing patient coordination. Now, lastly, a part of, doing patient coordination, I also assist chairside. And I know I have a lot more than just 2 hours worth of, but I know this project only required 4 hours. So the last 2 hours I put down as dental assisting. And our clinics that, these outreach clinics, we're actually a mobile unit. And so we move from location to location throughout the week. Again, we close to about 50% of our patients are Spanish speakers. And so they have me in the clinics a lot of times to translate. So assisting chairside, I'm also speaking to Spanish speakers and translating, what the doctor is trying to tell them, or what they need to expect during the procedure, and also post-op procedures, what they should be doing as well. I assist the 4th-year dental students and also the doctors that are in the clinic. And some of the nuances that I've learned, assisting, talking to patients that are not from necessarily the US, but come from other countries. These people love to talk about their culture and where they come from. They love to talk about their heritage and, the food of their country, and the things that they love that maybe they left from their home. Additionally, in my experience, these Spanish speakers are very, very appreciative of people that go out of their way to learn Spanish. And it really goes a long way in communicating, or, interacting with people that only speak Spanish. They're very grateful for somebody that has taken the time to learn Spanish. And, a lot of people that come in the clinic and see me, blonde hair, blue eyes, and see that I speak Spanish, are a lot of times taken back, and they're very appreciative that, there's somebody there that can explain to them in their own language what's going on, or what they need to expect, or, why something costs the way it does, or getting directions. It makes it easier on them, and they're very appreciative for that fact. And so, in conclusion, those were the 3 things that I did. I did an hour's worth of listening to Spanish radio, those 2 different stations, the Spanish pop music, and also the traditional Spanish music, La Banda. Also an hour's worth of patient coordination. So talking to patients over the phone, making sure when they know when their appointment was, if they needed to change it to a different day, making sure they knew the directions to the clinic. And again, this is all in Spanish, because we do have a large portion of our patient base that is our Spanish speakers. And then additionally, the 2 hours of dental assisting chairside, and, being there in the clinic with the patients and translating for them, and being able to talk to them chairside. So this is my presentation, and thanks so much.